So this is just a bit of a mini review on the Bose Smart Soundbar 600 that I got recently. I did a package opening on it, and long story short, in this little mini review, long story short, it actually does live up to its hype. Now I know there are other sound bars out there. There's a new version. I think I may have the new version and everything because what it did initially after I set it up, I followed the instructions and everything. Is it did an update that took about I would say 5 to 10 minutes. Via the Bose music app. So after, yeah, basically, and I do apologize if I sound a little blah. I work today, and also the fact that, like I said, I work today and everything, and also the fact that I'm trying to be cautious because there's going to be some boom, notification noises that will come in during the recording. I have a feeling so because I'm recording this on my phone. But yeah, I do apologize if I sound a little out of it. I am tired, and I'm also trying to be cautious as to when those notifications will come in. So I do apologize about those in advance. Now, with that said, though, like I said, with any Bose smart soundbar or any Bose system that requires, I should say, the Bose music app to set up or even update or whatever. Basically, the update, once you put the Bose music app on, it takes about I would say 5 to 10 minutes, to update, the latest firmware and everything for the system. Now it does have a USB port on the back for service, so that way, if you want to just download the firmware from the Bose, website and then upload it, that way you could do it too. You could do it that way, I should say too. But but again, like I said earlier, long story short, it does live up to its hype. Now, like I said, they do have 900 and 700, and what those mainly are just upgrade in what you get with the 600. It's just upgraded in the sound, the Dolby Atmos, and all that. Maybe with a few extra features here and there. But mainly they're just, bigger upgrades and all that. And the sound bars are a lot bigger, in length. That's why they're, up there in price. Not just because they're updated and upgraded, with the latest features and updates for everything that comes with the 600, but also the fact that they are longer in length. They are longer, they're basically a longer, soundbar per se. Now, what's interesting is when I do a comparison in size between both soundbars, the one I had there originally, which was the Samsung one, and the Bose, the Samsung one is actually just a little bit longer. As a matter of fact, I think it might be the size, and this is just my opinion, I think it might just be the size of the Bose Smart Soundbar 700, if not 900. But the big difference, though, between the two, though, is that soundbar was essentially just, optical only. It wasn't HDMI or anything. It was optical only. And it did have a USB port on the back, I'm assuming to connect USB devices like phones or MP3 players, whatever, if you have an MP3 player anymore, to listen to through the soundbar, but also I think for firmware updates as well. I know that the soundbar I have in my living room, it's HDMI compatible, and basically the way I have it set up is basically it's going through an HDMI, a GE HDMI switcher, which kind of, I think, cancels out any HDMI audio that could come through it, because it does have the HDMI in option when you want to select, the function, USB, Bluetooth, optical, you name it. It has the HDMI in function. The only issue, like I said, is we have it set up to where basically we're using the optical only, because we have it, like I said, plugged in, I believe, through an HDMI switcher, which, you would think, that should help, but it won't, because it's not going to do any good. It doesn't register. But we'd have to basically put it through HDMI to probably get the full advantage. But, pretty much, what we have and everything, we're happy. We're happy the way it's set up, especially, especially, my family. They're happy with the way it's set up, if you will. I also have a soundbar in the rec room and the guest room. It used to be in the living room. Now it's in the guest room. It too, like the Samsung one I have, is optical only, but it's not just optical only, but it's also audio. It's also basically audio video. It's basically audio only as well. Basically, like the audio cables, the red and white cables. That's mainly what it is, along with optical. So basically, basically I had to, set it up to the point to where I'm trying to at least get some opticalness into that thing as best as I can going forward. As best as I can going forward. But with that said, though, getting back to the Bose, like I said, is pretty good. It does live up to everything it says it does. And I've tested out several different scenarios. I even have I even have my switcher connected, my Philips switcher, HDMI switcher. And usually that's kind of tricky, because sometimes you're not sure if a switcher will allow you to play on something like a Bose, but it does. It does allow you to play, because the Bose, when you plug it in via HDMI, it will basically, the TV will acknowledge. It might take about a few seconds or so, or maybe a minute at most, but a few seconds. But the TV will acknowledge the Bose soundbar via HDMI. And I'm sure it does it the same way with optical, but mostly it will register it as an HDMI source. Then what it will do is it will go to the it'll go to the screen. It'll go to that HDMI channel, come up with the Bose music app page, or not page, but picture. It'll come up with an image saying Bose music app, and then the QR codes to download the app and everything. And so when you download the app, that's when things, like I say, start to get a little fun, because, like I say, you set up everything. It will register, that you have a Bose soundbar. The music app will. It'll also ask what, Wi-Fi internet signal you're using or you're going to use for the soundbar and the music app. And my suggestion is you go with the strongest one you have. Like I have the 5. I have 2.4, but I also have 5. So I go with 5. So anyway, it will do all that. It'll go through all those little things here and there, or like I said, it'll have you use the music app to acknowledge, to pair it, pair it with, your Wi-Fi, your internet, and all that. And it will also allow you, like I said earlier, to update to the latest firmware, so that things will be, as is. They will also ask you, and I do recommend you do it, ask you for if you want to receive notifications for future updates and stuff in the future. Like if another update comes down the line, you're going to want to say yes, update it, and all that. Now, when you do plug it in, when you power it on and all that, yes, it does come on. It takes a few minutes. It takes about a minute or so. You will see the light, the silver light, if you will, the LED light come on. And it will, after a minute or so, play the song, play the music, acknowledging that it's on, ready to go, ready to be paired, and for you to go through all the steps, like I said. They're not hard steps, but you just got to make sure you follow them to a T. And once you do all that, once you pair it up and everything, okay, basically, when you go to the music app for Bose, it's going to ask you, okay, what do you want to register? It's going to ask you if you have an account to sign in, and if not, to make one. And when you do, it's going to ask you to basically find what you're looking for. Basically, what it'll do is after you sign in, it will locate your Bose device, and when it finds it, it's going to ask you to choose what item it is. What item it is. So you're going to choose the soundbar, and then you're going to let it go through what it's got to go through. It's going to acknowledge. It's going to acknowledge that it's there. It's going to, like I said, ask for the what kind of Wi-Fi internet you're going to use for it, and then it's going to go through the process of updating and so on and so forth. And then it's going to ask you, okay, where is this located at? Is it located in the living room, the bedroom, master room, whatever? And you're going to, in my case, I chose bedroom because it's in my bedroom. But wherever you have yours, you just click on that. And then I think you can name it. You can give it a personal name of, okay, this is where it's located at, and so on. So after all that, when you go to your to your TV and you start using it, you're going to have to choose between the audio output. So you're going to have the TV speaker, you're going to have optical, and you're going to have HDMI receiver. Now, yes, when you go to your screen, it's going to acknowledge, okay, you have your cable connect, you have your smart channel if you have a smart TV, like I have a Samsung. I have the Samsung QLED 4K. It's going to acknowledge your smart channel, which is in my case Samsung Plus TV. Then it's going to show you your other HDMI outlets, or your three main HDMI outlets. One is going to be your cable, and then the other is going to be, potentially, if, like me, you have an HDMI splitter. It's going to acknowledge whatever the first thing you program it to acknowledge through the splitter. Like I said, like I set up my PS5, it acknowledges it as game console, not PlayStation 4, but it's game console. So it acknowledges it as that, but it also, just because it acknowledges it as that, it also will acknowledge, because it's connected through a splitter, it will acknowledge anything else you have connected to it. Like I have my 4K Blu-ray player connected to it, and so on, as well as the Xbox Series S, if you will. So it's going to acknowledge all of that, which I think is really cool. Now, depending on how many HDMI ports you have, on your TV, it's also going to acknowledge in one of them, the Bose. It's going to say Bose S66. I think it's going to say. Well, it's going to say Bose SS600. I believe it's going to say that. I think it's going to say Bose S600. Let me double check. Yeah, it's going to say Bose SS600. It's going to acknowledge it. And again, it all depends basically on how many HDMI ports you have. I have three. HDMI ports. And the one I'm using, I originally was using for the HDMI splitter, but I moved it down because, the HDMI port where I moved the splitter to via HDMI was connected to another kind of splitter I had, but this was something that I was trying to use long ago, and I just forgot to, remove it and, just save the HDMI cable I have for it for later. Anyway, long story short, I basically took the HDMI that connects the splitter to the TV, moved it down a port from the HDMI ARC port, and then I plugged the Bose into the HDMI ARC port, and then that's basically how I got the ball rolling, if you know what I mean. But anyway, it's going to acknowledge, that you have a Bose connected. It's going to acknowledge that. So after all that, you should be good to go. You should be good to go. After all that, you should be good to go. Now, if you want to, you could decide to, because one thing they do recommend, everybody recommends this, even Bose recommends this, you can mess around with the app, go into the app, go into the playing on TV. And when you go to playing on TV, you're going to have to scroll down. After you press it once, it's going to take you to like the main menu where you can set up things like, your audio and so on and, so forth. But you can also, go a little down and you can click on playing on TV, for the second time. And when you press playing on TV for the second time, it's going to bring up, that yes, it is, that yes, your soundbar is playing the TV, but it'll also acknowledge whether or not it's playing Dolby Digital 5.1, Dolby Digital 7.1 if you have that, or if it's playing Dolby Digital 2.0 or Dolby Atmos. That's what, or maybe even Dolby True TV, Dolby True HD. I'm not really sure. But that's what it will do. It will let you know what audio signal you're getting. But just like they've advertised, it shouldn't matter what you're getting and whether or not you're just going to be satisfied with the default factory settings or you want to adjust, the volume and all that to your liking. What you're going to get thanks to the true space technology, you're going to be able to hear things that you've never heard before. You're going to hear things like from the background music to sound effects and stuff you've never heard before. You haven't heard probably in a long time, since maybe you first watched the movie or the show in theaters or on television. You're going to hear stuff. You're going to be like, whoa, I didn't even notice that. Like, for example, of course, I had to, test out the melting of my favorite female Warner Brother characters like Babs, Dot Warner, Minerva Mink. I had to check that out. And even Olive. I even tried olive oil from Paulet's Woos. And what's interesting about the Olive one, because that's from the 75th anniversary DVD two disc set that I have. What's interesting about that is I was playing that, I guess you could say compilation clip that I did of her, Babs, and Dot and Minerva melting that I uploaded several months ago. And when I play it, you don't get like what one of the previous releases had, where it was like they did the 0.5 and they added sound effects and all that. No, you don't get that. But what you get is you get like a bit of static, and it's not because of the receiver. No, it's static because what you're hearing is basically static from the film. Yeah, hearing static from the film, which is unreal. You hear this, like you hear with old films, old-timey films. That's what you hear there. That was kind of cool. And then, of course, with, Babs and, Minerva and Dot, the melting scenes, I listened to them through the YouTube upload I did, as well as to playing the disc, or at least the Animaniacs disc, on my 4K Blu-ray player. And basically what I heard was not just the sound as, like I normally would, but I heard a little bit more extra. I heard a little bit more liquidy sounds than usual. And I'm like, that sounds kind of cool. But outside of them, I also, of course, tried Transformers the movie, 1986. That sounded terrific. There was stuff in there I hadn't heard in a while, if ever. From background music and background music and sound effects and lasers and all that. I'm thinking, that's pretty cool. And speaking of the music, and I'll get into that in a moment. They do, I'll get into that in a moment, but they weren't the only ones I tried. I even tried out Rise of the Beast, which was last year's Transformer movie. Or was it last year? No, yeah, it was last year. I tried that, and I heard the music so well out of that, and it, of course, acknowledged it was being played in Dolby Atmos. But yeah, it sounded so well, sounded so good, and it was just perfect. It was just perfect in my opinion. Now, with that said, that's the other thing too. If you have the movie by digital and physical, and it has Dolby Atmos on it, or even 7.1 or whatever, it's going to acknowledge it, even through streaming. So if you're watching something on Netflix that is, is supportive in Dolby Atmos, it's going to give it to you in Dolby Atmos, and so on. Now, and also, like I said, if you're listening to something like on, let's say, DVD, and the DVD is in like 5.1, like the Animaniacs Volume 2 and 3 of the original series are, you're going to get that in 5.1. You're going to get that in 5.1, which I think is really cool. And it sounds really good too. But anyway, I tested it on that. I tested it on the MLP movie 2017. Sounded really good there. And if that's not enough, I also, and again, I do apologize for any pauses and all that. I am tired, like I said, so I do apologize. But I also tested it out on my Sonic the Hedgehog DVD, as well as some of the YouTube episodes they put up. And of course, the DVD from the original Shout Factory release, which I still have. I have 2 copies, one unopened, one unopened, and it's been unopened since 2017, and one that is open and used. So I used the one I primarily use to watch and stuff, watch the episodes and stuff. So I clicked on Blast of the Past Part 2, right? Because that's on, disc 1, right? Disc 1 of the season 2. So I went to Blast of the Past, Part 2, and I'm going to tell you something, guys. This sounded, just as good, if not better, because, yeah, you will hear things in the background and everything, but then it kind of dissipates. When Sally is, when they're getting escorted into prison, Sonic and Sally, you hear the music like usual, but you hear more musical notes than before, as well as a little bit more sound effects and stuff. And if not more emphasis, I'll put it that way. You hear more emphasis. But then after, Mobotropolis is turned into Robotropolis, and Sally's like, okay, we need a plan. And she uses Nicole to kind of, figure out, all right, if things are the same here as in the future, there should be a connecting service tunnel, right? And when she locates it, originally with like my Samsung, you wouldn't hear Nicole's like holographic sound and all that anymore after she shows, Sally, where the connecting service tunnel is still located even in the past. But with the Bose, you hear it. You still hear it in the background. So that's kind of cool. And again, you hear some more emphasis on the music and stuff. And this is being presented according to the Bose music app, being presented in 2.0. And again, this is kind of a credit to the True Space technology, because what it does, the True Space technology, is it gives you kind of an Atmos feeling, because what it does is they advertise is it bounces sound off the ceiling, depending on where you have the soundbar, and it sounds terrific. It sounds absolutely terrific. And again, this is a 2.0 disc that I was playing, and it sounded like it was 5.1, if not Atmos itself, because of that technology. I really enjoyed it. Now, of course, I tried out my PS5 on it as well, and it sounded good too. It sounded really good as well. I even tried some of the apps on my PS5, and they sounded just as good, if not a bit better than they would on the TV. Now, speaking of the apps, and speaking of the Blu-ray and the PS5 and so on. What you need to do with them, and they highly recommend this, not just with your TV, but with any device, you need to set them to basically support Dolby Atmos or at least Dolby Digital Plus. You got to get it in that area of, hey, support this and we'll be good. So what I did with my Blu-ray players, I said, okay, I'm going to go digital, I'm going to go Dolby, and I'm going to go surround, because one of the things they advertise with this is the surround. I haven't gone to the surround yet on the thing here on my TV. I've only had it like on, just optical, but the surround is supposed to be like the selling point. It's supposed to be like, the selling point and everything for that, or at least it's supposed to be. But let's see, optimized, audio. It's supposed to be the selling point. So obviously I can't get that now because I have it connected and everything via the receiver and everything. So, but yeah, it's supposed to. But I don't think you need a surround on your TV. But if you have a surround on, let's say your Blu-ray or your PS5 and all that, highly recommend you do it that way. And that does help out a lot, because it helps build on that true space technology by giving you more of that emphasis on things you wouldn't have heard before. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's actually pretty good to hear and listen to, and I'm happy to have it. Now, for those of you that might wonder, okay, what am I going to do with the other soundbar? I'll show you what I'm going to do with it very soon. But basically, it's going to help me play my games, my retro games on my monitor without having to go back and forth into the into the guest room and everything, especially if we have family over for like the weekend and all that. But be that as it may, I love right now, even though I said this was a bit of a mini review, it feels like it's been a full-on review. I like what I got. I like it so far, and I haven't tested everything on it yet. But since it is connected to the Wi-Fi, Spotify is definitely an option as well. So we'll look into that down the line. But I like it, and I highly recommend, if you're looking for a soundbar for the holidays, Amazon has it for like $3.99 right now, thanks to the holiday deals or Black Friday deals that they got going on. So I would recommend checking it out if you want to get it now and add it to your soundbar collection, if you will. But yeah, it's pretty good for the price. The remote, I think, is really nice. Really nice and everything. There is a catch, though. There is a catch, and I was getting into this. Like I said, with your external devices like your Blu-ray and your PlayStations and all that, you have to make sure that they are set to like digital, Dolby Atmos and stuff like that, surround. You get the idea. But when it comes to your smart TV, you got to make sure that whatever app you're using, whether it's Fandango at home, Prime Video, Netflix, and all that, you got to make sure, again, as I said earlier, that the movie of the show is either Dolby Atmos or has Dolby Digital 5.1 or 2.0. I don't know if any show or movie has 7.1. It might, but you got to make sure it has those, because if not, then the default audio you're going to get is going to be PCM. Now, PCM is not a big deal because, again, because of the true space technology that this has and has proven to me to be, good at what they advertise, you won't have to worry too much about that, because the PCM basically is just going to be the default mode for, like, if you go on YouTube and you're watching a regular YouTube video or a live stream. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be a default mode for that, because the video or the live stream, doesn't have, nor will I think ever will have, Dolby Digital or Atmos added to it, unless the software they're using to make their video or do the live stream enables it. So with that said, outside of that, again, you just got to make sure all your external devices are, basically at the recommended Dolby Digital surround Atmos requirements if you want to get the full extent of it, and surround as well if you want to get the full extent of it. As well as you also got to be aware that if you're going to browse YouTube with it, that basically YouTube is going to only be unless the free movies and shows and maybe acceptable uploaded videos have Dolby Digital 2.0, 5.1, 7.1 or Atmos. Unless they have those, then every YouTube video outside of that will be PCM only. So just thought I'd let you guys know about it. But let me know what your thoughts are overall. Let me know what your thoughts are overall. Like the video, ring the bell for notifications, subscribe to the channel. Let me know if you guys have gotten a Bose Smart Soundbar 600 or maybe the ones a little higher. Let me know what you guys think about them and everything, and what your experience has been. Love to hear from each and every one of you on this. And until next time, guys, you can check out the links in my description to where you can find my content. But let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear from all of you on it. And one more thing, just to make sure when you do get it, if you haven't, and you probably already know this, but if you're thinking of getting a Bose Soundbar 600, if not above, make sure that you turn off the soundbar first before you turn off your TV. Because if you turn off your TV and your soundbar is still on, your soundbar will automatically turn the TV back on, and it will go into a screensaver of the last thing you were on, which would be, let's say, in my case, last night, Comcast, or at least the cable service, if you will. So make sure you turn the soundbar off first before you turn off the TV. But anyway, though, guys, like I said, let me know what your thoughts are, what your experiences have been. And until next time, I will talk to you all later. Again, I do apologize for sounding a little slurry. I am tired. I worked today, but let me know what your thoughts are. And until then, I'm out.